So this is my second video. In the first video I talked about Liverpool Football Club, my most favorite football club and one of the most popular football clubs in the world. And in this video now I'm going to talk about some players and some football clubs which are probably not that famous. Okay, so let's start. Last season, before the Premier League kicked off, I had made a prediction of 3 football players who I thought would make a very successful transition from the Championship, which is the second division of English football, to the Premier League. The list included players who were coming directly from the Championship and not necessarily players whom we have seen before in the Premier League with some other club, or maybe the club that they were playing for went down and then once again they were coming back to the league. So the likes of Patrick Bamford was not included. Not that I would have ever thought that he would do so well last year. I think he surprised a lot of people. Similarly, I think this year the likes of Troy Deeney, Ismail Assar, Emi Buendia, Timo Pukki, I'm not going to include those players. So the list is exclusively going to have players who are very new to the Premier League and they have only played Championship football in the previous season. In short, the 3 players that I had last year were first, I think, Ollie Watkins of Brentford, who was signed by Aston Villa last season and he had a very successful first year in the Premier League. He scored 14 goals. He established himself to be a Premier League quality striker. Extremely hard-working player. He almost made it to the England squad for the Euros. My second pick was Ben White, who did really well for Leeds United. He was one of the best defenders in the Championship that year, and Leeds were very keen to sign him on a permanent deal. That did not happen. Brighton kept hold of him, and a year later he was included in England's Euro squad, and very recently he has of course signed for Arsenal for a huge £50 million transfer fee. So I think a lot about Arsenal this season is going to depend on his young shoulders. A lot of money to pay for a young centre back. So let's see how he performs. But he was a success story last year. And my final pick was Matheus Pereira of West Brom. He came up and he went down. He scored quite a few goals. He was very good on set pieces, and a lot of people actually thought he would make a return to the Premier League this season. Some Premier League team would definitely buy him, but right now, as things stand, it doesn't look like we are going to see him in the Premier League again this season at least. Okay, so let's move on to this year's picks, and my number one pick is very obvious. It's Ivan Toney of Brentford. So Ivan Toney joined Brentford last year after Brentford sold off the likes of Ollie Watkins and Said Benrahma, 2 Premier League sides, and it was a tough ask replacing those 2 quality players. But he came in and he took the Championship by storm. He scored 33 goals last year, 31 in the Championship, and he broke the record. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think he broke the record for the highest number of goals scored in a single Championship year. And He helped Brentford on promotion to the Premier League after a spell of 50 years. And he looks super confident. I think he has made a claim that he wants to score goals regularly in the Premier League. That shows his ambition. I think he has targeted more than 15 goals. He's an aerial threat. His hold-up play is very good. He has quick runners beside him, the likes of Mbuemo, Sajikanios, and he's the focal point of the the very attacking Brentford side, whom we are all excited to see, how they adapt to the Premier League. And so Tony is my first pick. My second pick is somebody who's not being talked about as much as Tony, but he should be, because he was the second highest scorer in the championship last year. It's Adam Armstrong of Blackburn Rovers, who has very recently signed for Southampton. So Adam Armstrong last season he scored 28 goals in the championship, 29 in all competitions. So that's Tony scored 33, he scored 29. So that's not too bad. I think he's a very capable striker. Southampton is a side which is, a lot of people would say, is struggling a bit right now. They have just sold off Danny Ings, their main source of goals, their talisman, probably one of the best finishers in the Premier League, and that too for very cheap, because he just had a single year left on his contract, and they decided to cash in on him instead of letting him go for free next year. And other than that, they had to let go of Ryan Bertrand at left back. It's looking very likely that they would have to let go of Yannick Vestergaard as well, who also has just 1 year left on his contract. He's most likely joining Leicester City, who's Vestergaard is one of their best defenders, and it's going to be a big loss as well. So I think next season a lot about Southampton is going to depend on the number of goals that they score. We have seen them suffering, huge 9-0 defeats in 2 consecutive seasons. They can concede a lot of goals again this year, but if they have to survive, if probably they have to finish above those relegation places, I think goals are going to be important. And I think Adam Armstrong is very capable of he may not be as good as Danny Ings right now, but he's a very good finisher. Unlike Tony, he drops deep. His capability of even shooting from distance is something which can be compared with someone like Ings. So if Southampton stick to their natural formation, which Ralph Hasenhüttl has been implementing ever since he has come to the club, it's two up front, Jay Adams and Danny Ings, and if Armstrong comes in as a direct replacement for Danny Ings, I think they're going to have a very able player who's probably going to help them stay up. So I'm very excited to see how well it does. And my number 3 pick, I think a lot of Liverpool fans would expect. The final pick is going to be a teammate of Adam Armstrong last year. No, it's not Harvey Elliott. He was on loan at Blackburn last season. He did very well there. And he's going to. It looks like he's going to stay with Liverpool, and he's going to get some minutes. But I don't think going to have that much of an impact. Maybe some cameo appearances and some crazy moments from the bench. But if I'm talking about uh, performances that are going to be season defining, my third pick is going to be Michael Ulisse. He's a French youth international who has joined Crystal Palace from Reading. So Ulisse is an attacking midfielder. He can play number 10, but he prefers playing from the right. Again, a good free kick taker. He's more of a provider. He's not a goal scorer. I think he scored 7 or 8 goals in the championship last season, but he provided a lot of assists. So a very needful addition to a Crystal Palace side which generally plays boring football. But their philosophy is going to change this season, as promised by the new manager Patrick Vieira. And I think they have injuries right now. Ulisse is injured at the beginning of the season, and they have Christian Benteke leading the line, who has looked good towards the end of last season. Is looking to be the Benteke of old. And behind him, sometimes this season we may see a trio of Wilfred Zaha on the left, Eberechi Eze from the middle uh, as the number 10, and Ulisse on the right. It's a very attacking lineup. It's a very entertaining setup. I think if Crystal Palace, I think the Crystal Palace board has to be patient with Vieira, and even if they do not have the best of starts, if when all these players come together, I think they're going to do very very well, and probably they're probably not going to be in the relegation fight if all these players play together and they're able to perform to their best abilities. I'm very excited to see Patrick Vieira. I'm a huge Patrick Vieira fan. He was one of the leaders from the sports world who really inspired me when I started watching football. He was the captain of Arsenal, and I'm really hoping to see him becoming a stable and well recognized and trustworthy football manager, which a lot of people seem to not agree because he has not done much in the past. But I'm really hopeful that Crystal Palace, they've added quality players in defense as well. It's going to be a test, but let's see. So my final pick is Michael Olise. So these are my 3 players whom I think are going to come from the Championship to the Premier League and are going to surprise a lot of people this season. Ivan Toney, Adam Armstrong, and Michael Olise. This is my second video. If anyone listens to it, I don't know why he should, but if you do, and if you watch football, and if you can connect with this, please feel free to share your opinions. Thank you.